to the floor, right, wins this battle. And that's Sophie Cunningham. Wow, I thought Van Loo grabbed her by the neck. Sophie, thankfully and fortunately, let that one go. They both got up smiling.
Sophie Cunningham broke her silence after the most controversial loss of the season, and her 6 words will give you chills. The Indiana Fever just lost to the worst team in the WNBA, the Los Angeles Sparks, for the 2nd time this season. But this wasn't just any loss. This was a heartbreaking 89-87 defeat that ended their 3-game winning streak, complete with dirty plays, terrible officiating, and Sophie getting grabbed around the neck with no foul called. Her reaction? A smile and a laugh? What exactly did Sophie say after the game that changes everything about how we see this team's fight? If you support Sophie and the Fever, then comment below, Spicy Sophie. Let's go.
We have a fun group, we have a goofy group, but sometimes you kind of need to get pissed off a little bit and dial in. I think that's what you saw today.
Picture this. The Indiana Fever were riding the highest wave of their season just days ago. They had just crushed 3 of the league's top teams in a row. First, they beat Paige Buchers and the Dallas Wings in a statement game. Then they absolutely destroyed the Minnesota Lynx to capture their first Commissioner's Cup championship. But the crown jewel? They completely dominated A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces in a performance that had everyone talking about their championship potential.
Howard looking backdoor for Mitchell, not there. Shot clock down to 7. McDonald feed inside, and it's Howard for 2.
It's good record.
And let's keep in mind Caitlin Clark was injured all this time. Their superstar who made everything work was watching from the sidelines with a left groin injury. This was already her 10th missed game of the season, and you could see the difference immediately. The Fever's entire identity shifted without Clark running the show. Their pace slowed down dramatically. The ball movement that made them so dangerous just wasn't there anymore. Aaliyah Boston, who dominates when she gets touches in the paint, wasn't getting nearly enough passes to play her natural style.
This is a game that would have been great to have Caitlin Clark back in the second half. Just an extra playmaker on the court, doing the things that Caitlin Clark does. But I'm glad if it's rest or no rest. Last time she came back early, and guess what happened? She was overcompensating, even if she's 70, 80%, and she ended up getting another injury and being out twice as long instead of just holding off till she was 100%. And also coming back for one Sparks game.
But here's the crazy part. The Fever were still favored to win this game. ESPN gave them a 72.9% chance of victory. Vegas had them favored by 6.5 points. This was supposed to be an easy win against one of the worst teams in the league. The Sparks came into this game with a terrible 5-13 record. The Fever were missing Clark, sure. Damiris Dantas was playing for her country in the FIBA Americup. And DeWanna Bonner? She just quit on the team entirely, but they were still expected to handle business.
Indiana Fever fans, we came up short. We lost in the final seconds of this game, 89-87. We were up by 6 points with 5 minutes left, and also up by 4 points with 1:43.
The cruel irony hit different, though. The Sparks had already beaten the Fever once this season when they were at full strength. Now here they were, undermanned and struggling, facing the same team that had embarrassed them before. The final score tells the whole story, 89-87. 2 points. The Fever missed their last 5 shots, including 4 in the final minute. They had championship dreams just days ago. Now those dreams felt fragile without their superstar leading the charge. But the score was just the beginning of what made this loss so devastating. The real controversy was about to unfold.
We should have won this game. There was inconsistencies in the officiating. Wait until you see the second half. And I have everything.
Here's where the night took a dark turn that had Coach Stephanie White seeing red. The game was close, tensions were high, and then the referees started making calls that left everyone speechless. You could feel the frustration building as the officials seemed to lose control of what should have been a straightforward game.
I don't get it. Breanna Stewart, A'ja Wilson, wait until you see what they did for Kelsey Plum tonight. They get all the calls. Touch fouls, anything. And guess what happens? Aaliyah Boston, the best center in the game, and guess what happens to her? She gets called for every touch foul and ends up in foul trouble this entire season and is still putting up MVP type numbers. What happens with Caitlin Clark? Have you ever seen her get a touch foul? Phantom call? No. The physicality, that's the WNBA when it comes to Caitlin Clark. But anybody else, the physicality disappears. And it's foul after foul after foul in the second half.
Julie Van Loo grabbed Sophie Cunningham around the neck during a loose ball scramble. This wasn't some minor contact. This was a clear foul that should have been called immediately. The grab happened right in front of the officials, yet the whistle stayed silent. You could see Sophie's reaction in real time, that smile, that laugh. But this wasn't because it was funny. Sophie knew the refs weren't protecting anyone out there.
To the floor, right? Wins this battle. That's Sophie Cunningham. Wow, I thought Van Loo grabbed her by the neck. Sophie, thankfully and fortunately, let that one go. They both got up smiling.
The scene painted itself perfectly. Sophie getting grabbed around the face and neck, no call. Meanwhile, the referees were spending excessive time reviewing clean defensive plays. Sydney Colson made a perfect block that got called a foul initially. The refs had to review it for what felt like forever just to overturn an obvious mistake. But actual fouls? Those went uncalled all night long.
This is what I was talking about with Sophie Cunningham. Look at this. She literally grabbed her around her neck, and they called this a jump ball, and then threw her down the next play.
These calls happened in the final minutes when every possession mattered most. The Fever were fighting for their lives, trying to close out a game they should have won easily. Instead, they were battling both the Sparks and the officials. You could see the pattern becoming clear. The double standard that's been plaguing the Fever all season long. The inconsistent officiating wasn't just frustrating, it was dangerous. When you don't protect players from contact like what happened to Sophie, you're sending a message that anything goes. The referees seemed to be making calls that favored the Sparks while leaving Fever players vulnerable to whatever came their way.
And then threw her down the next play. And then Aaliyah Boston, like I said, she didn't touch her. They put her in foul trouble all season long. They're just calling stuff to call stuff. The refs made this game about them. Aaliyah Boston, again, she's an all-star player. Look at these hits. Good thing Caitlin Clark didn't play because it was just a sloppy basketball game between the officials and the Los Angeles Sparks. Look at this. They called this a foul instead of a block. And then there's Aaliyah Boston again. That's 3 fouls where she didn't touch anybody. And that's our best player, and wonder why we lose this game. Michaela Timpson, watch these 2 calls in a row. She didn't do anything. She got hit on that one, and they called a foul on her.
Coach White's post-game press conference said everything you needed to know. When asked about the game's outcome, she delivered 4 words that cut straight to the heart of the problem. We didn't get the calls. That simple statement captured the widespread feeling that the referees had unfairly impacted the game. White wasn't making excuses. She was stating facts.
And this is 4th quarter. Look at this. This one pissed me off. Kelsey Plum seriously elbows Lexi Hall, then purposely steps over so she couldn't get up. Lexi Hall can't believe it. That's a foul. The ref was right there in front of her. And then here we go. And they kept McDonald in foul trouble the entire game. There's 2 in a row where she didn't do anything. Look at that. Just had her arms in the air, but they gave, this is the 4th quarter, and they just kept giving every single call. I like Leah Boston finally getting pissed off. Then they call this away from the ball in the 4th quarter. Nothing going on. Just to put him at the line, and then Kelsey Plum, another one. But when Howard drives and gets slashed across the face, no foul, just out of bounds.
The officiating reached a new low that night. The failure to protect players from dangerous contact while spending endless time reviewing clean plays showed a complete lack of focus on player safety. This inconsistency undermined everything the league claims to stand for. It cost the Fever a game they should have won. And it highlighted the ongoing problem with how certain teams and players get treated differently by officials. But even through all this chaos and controversy, individual Fever players refused to let the circumstances define them. Even as everything fell apart around them, 3 Fever players refused to give up the fight. They showed the heart and determination that makes this team special, even when the odds were stacked against them. Aaliyah Boston stepped up huge with 23 points and 12 rebounds. Boston shot 9 of 17 from the field and knocked down 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Her efficiency was exactly what the Fever needed, without Clark running the offense. Boston dominated the paint, grabbed rebounds, and created second-chance opportunities. She was everywhere on the court, making plays that kept the Fever competitive. But her dominant performance got overshadowed by the chaos and poor officiating around her. You could see the frustration on her face as she did everything right, only to watch the game slip away.
Here's Mitchell off the screen, but can't connect on the three. Boston offensive rebound, rolls it in and a foul. The two bigs bring the ball up the floor, and Hamby wasn't ready for that.
How about that change of pace? That burst like a guard gets downhill to the rim.
Kelsey Mitchell's leadership shined through with 19 points, including 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. Her three-pointers came at crucial moments when the team needed a scoring boost. This was actually Mitchell's 251st game for the Fever, placing her second in franchise history behind Tamika Catchings. That tells you everything about her dedication to this organization. Mitchell stepped up when it mattered most, hitting clutch shots that kept the Fever within striking distance.
Lob inside. Boston too far underneath. Shot clock down to 5. Kick out Mitchell. Oh, yes!
Natasha Howard provided veteran presence with 21 points on an impressive 8 of 11 shooting from the field. Howard also grabbed 9 rebounds, showcasing her consistent impact on both ends of the court. She shot 1 of 2 from three-point range and 4 of 6 from the free throw line. Howard's experience showed as she delivered exactly when the team needed her most. She even surpassed 2,000 career rebounds during this game, reaching another milestone in her outstanding career.
Busted them all up. We went to the same high school.
Howard left alone. Answers with a 3.
These performances should have been enough to win, but the circumstances worked against them. You're watching great players give everything they had, only to see it slip away because of factors beyond their control. The emotional weight of that reality hit hard for every Fever fan watching. The team struggled with execution when it mattered most. They shot just 12 of 19 from the free throw line, missing 7 crucial points that could have changed everything. They also committed 10 turnovers, giving the Sparks extra possessions they shouldn't have had. The Fever missed their last 5 shots, including 4 in the final minute when they needed to close out the game.
LA is so dangerous. They don't look like a 5-win team to me.
Oh, and there's Tipson sending it back.
These 3 players prove the Fever's depth and heart, even in their darkest moment. Boston, Mitchell, and Howard showed this team has championship-level talent beyond just Caitlin Clark. Their combined effort should have been enough, but sometimes great individual performances aren't enough to overcome everything working against you. But there was someone else who embodied the team's fighting spirit that night. After everything that happened, Sophie Cunningham finally broke her silence with 6 words that define her entire identity. But to understand why those words hit so hard, you need to remember what Sophie has been through this season. Remember the incident with JC Sheldon earlier this season?
Sophie commits a hard foul on JC Sheldon. Again, as JC Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely intentional.
Sophie has always been the one who stands up when things get rough. She's the enforcer, the protector, the player who steps in when teammates need someone to have their back. That's exactly who Sophie Cunningham is, and it's exactly why other players keep targeting her. Getting grabbed around the neck by Julie Van Loo was just the latest example of players targeting her for protecting her teammates. This wasn't some random contact. Van Loo went straight for Sophie's neck during a loose ball situation. The refs called it a jump ball instead of the obvious foul it was. Sophie's reaction? That smile and laugh. But this wasn't because she thought it was funny. Sophie knew the officials weren't going to protect her.
It's cool. It's funny what kind of people are attracted to. You know, I'm just trying to keep the main thing. The main thing is that's basketball, trying to win games, sticking up for my teammates. And that's all part of it. I think all that stuff it's fun and whatnot, but at the end of the day, we need to win some basketball games.
Here are the 6 words that give you chills. I stick up for my teammates. Simple, powerful, and everything you need to know about Sophie Cunningham. Those words capture her entire identity in one sentence. She doesn't care about personal stats. She doesn't care about getting recognition. She cares about her teammates, and she's willing to take hits to protect them. Sophie has been consistently targeted all season for this exact role, yet she never backs down. Players know she's the enforcer. They know she'll step up when things get physical. So they target her first. They try to intimidate her. They grab her around the neck, hoping she'll stop protecting her teammates. But Sophie keeps showing up anyway.
I'm not focused on the extracurricular activities. And you know what? During that, it was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, you know, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do.
Picture Sophie's positive energy and fighting spirit that keeps this team together through adversity. When Caitlin Clark went down with injury, Sophie stepped up her leadership. When the team struggled without their star player, Sophie kept the energy high. When refs made terrible calls, Sophie kept her teammates focused. That's what real leadership looks like. Contrast Sophie's selfless dedication with players like DeWanna Bonner, who abandoned the team when things got tough. Bonner quit on the Fever right when they needed veteran leadership most. Sophie? She doubled down on her commitment. She embraced the responsibility of being the team's backbone. Sophie embodies everything great about team basketball: sacrifice, loyalty, and courage. She takes hits so her teammates don't have to. She accepts the role of being targeted because it means protecting the people she cares about. She puts the team first in every single situation.
Being one of the new ones here,
Yeah.
but you're someone who likes to bring the energy, whether we just saw what we saw, but regardless, can you just talk about that?
Yeah, you know, I think that's just who I am. It's my personality. I'm the glue to it. You know, we kind of have a weird age gap. We have some oldies on the team. We have some young bucks, and I'm kind of the tweener is what they call me. And so it's just trying to make everyone match and make sure we're all just having good vibes, right? You know, the seasons has a bunch of highs and lows, and so just trying to keep a level head on everyone. But I also think that we get to play basketball for a living, and that's super fun. So sometimes you just need a good perspective of like, hey, we're in the grind right now, and it feels hard, but at the end of the day, we get to dribble a ball for a living, so we got to be grateful for that.
In those 6 words, Sophie revealed why she's the heart and soul of this Fever team. I stick up for my teammates isn't just a statement. It's a promise. It's a commitment. It's everything you want in a teammate and everything you need in a leader. When Caitlin Clark returns healthy, she'll come back to a team that knows how to fight for each other. Sophie Cunningham's 6 words remind us that championship teams are built on players who sacrifice everything for each other. When Caitlin Clark returns, this Fever team will be unstoppable. The league needs to protect players like Sophie who bring heart and integrity to the game, not punish them with biased officiating. This loss hurt, but it showed the character that will carry the Fever to their first championship when their superstar comes back healthy and ready to dominate. The Fever dropped to 9 wins and 9 losses with this defeat, but they're still in contention for a playoff spot. Reports suggest Clark could return as early as Wednesday against the Golden State Valkyries, and this team is ready to fight. If you support Sophie and the Fever, then comment below Spicy Sophie. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.